And now I want to welcome my guest, my special guest, Brian Jennings. He has written a fabulous book after years in the broadcast industry, in radio. He has written a book called Censorship. He was right here there in front of me. And Brian, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
Sure. Tell the audience a little bit about how you got started.
Well, I've been in radio my entire life. I began radio in 1968 at Pacific Lutheran University up in Tacoma, and they're a great public radio station. And I had the opportunity to go on the air. I had the opportunity to become the station manager of that facility back then. But one thing led to another. I was hired at KTAC Radio back in the day as an intern, and that led to a career that hooked up with K-Smith Radio, it was called back then. K-Smith was Danny Kaye, the entertainer.
Oh my gosh!
And he was a great owner. I got to meet him several times. His partner was Les Smith. He later bought KXL Radio here in Portland.
Oh my gosh!
And so Les Smith and Danny Kaye owned the station for a number of years. Prior to that, you might add that Frank Sinatra was part of that group as well.
Was he really? What got them all interested in the radio business?
Well,
because that was the deal back in the day.
Radio was a very good business back then, and it still is, but radio was very attractive for a number of actors. It was kind of an outlet for them to express their own creative energies and to have something on the side that they enjoyed. And so it was
So would they come
in
and do radio shows?
Actually, Danny Kaye didn't do a radio show, but he was a fabulous gourmet cook. And I remember one time here in Portland, after a number of years at the station, he flew in from Japan and cooked us a gourmet Japanese cuisine dinner one night.
Oh, how nice.
And but he was a fabulous guy. I remember one time I was in Spokane at one of our stations there, and he entertained us all at the old Spokane house. And everybody was supposed to dress up, and so we all wore tuxedos. He wore his tuxedo, but he had a pair of tennis shoes and no socks. And he was just that kind of guy. Then many years later, I was in my office at KXL in Portland, and he walked in with Steve Miller of the Steve Miller Band.
Oh my gosh.
And Les Smith. And Danny Kaye asked me, "Why aren't you wearing a shirt and tie?" I was wearing my golf shirt. It was Friday afternoon. But he smiled and just kind of grinned and walked out. But he was a fabulous guy. I joined Citadel Broadcasting.
What station were you at in Seattle?
KVI. KVI was the station that really began the conservative talk radio movement. It's credited with being the first station to move to an all-conservative talk lineup.
Really? And is it still around?
Yes, it is, but unfortunately they're not talking. They're back to oldies music.
Oh my goodness.
Lack of ownership direction. That's all I'll say on that. But
maybe did any of your background there have any work into the book at all?
Very much so. KVI is a big part of this book. With that station, we set on fire a conservative talk radio movement across the nation. I didn't know it at the time. We were just doing what we thought was good radio. But it came to light that a number of stations then emulated what KVI was doing based upon the ratings and success in Seattle. The station went from number 23 in the ratings to number 1 in the space of 2 years.
Wow.
And it was a great success. It would not have been a great success had not President Reagan repealed the Fairness Doctrine in 1988, 87.
I know, that's amazing.
And that led to the rise of the conservative talk movement. That led to Rush Limbaugh. That led to Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, and all the great national syndicated talk show hosts there are in America today. And
Which you know all of them, don't you?
I do. I do know them all.
Did you have any play in getting any of them started on it?
Well, no, they were terrific hosts in their own right. I was located in the Northwest. I was working with Citadel Broadcasting. Citadel then bought ABC Radio.
Okay.
And so I knew Sean Hannity from ABC quite closely. I'll tell you a fun little side story about Sean Hannity. My stepson, Adam, and I were going to a football game at the University of Oregon one day, and Sean had just gotten into radio syndication. And so he called me on my cell phone as I was entering the stadium to a Duck game. And I talked to him for a few minutes, and I said, "Sean, I got to go. It's kickoff." So I hung up. And Adam looked at me. He says, "Were you just talking to Sean Hannity? Did you hang up on Sean Hannity?" I said, "Yeah, big deal." But, Sean's a great guy. He understands. He wrote the foreword to, or not the foreword, but the introduction to my book.
Aww.
And
he
great
seems
friend.
like just a wonderful, wonderful guy.
He is a terrific guy.
Yeah.
He wears jeans on the set.
Does he really?
Yeah, just like I did.
Oh.
The government has a role in regulating frequencies to keep one frequency from interfering with another.
Okay.
That's legitimate, but it has no right to monitor free speech on the airwaves.
What do you think about their argument that since there's a limited number, they can't have all the frequencies covering one particular ideology or owned by one particular company?
I say just open it up and let the free marketplace decide. Let the free marketplace decide what it wants to hear, read, or see.
That makes all the sense in the world.
That's free. That's free. But a government that wants to regulate speech on the airwaves, I think that's the most dangerous thing there is. That is basically Big Brother. That's the beginning of tyranny.
What year was this under Wilson?
Yeah.
When did well, no, because they didn't even have radio. Well, they did. They had radio back then.
Yeah, radio was
when did they
around
do the
the
Fairness
1920s.
Doctrine?
Well, the FCC Act was first put into effect, I believe, in 1927. I believe it was President Hoover. But it took on various different versions from 1927 to 1933, but it was finally in 1949 that the government decided there should be the Fairness Doctrine. Now, back then, there were 2,500 radio stations in America. Today, there are 13,000. And virtually, you can get any opinion anywhere over the internet, over radio, over television, through magazines, through various sources, social media, Facebook,
They've opened up Pandora's
on.
box.
Absolutely. There's no reason to have a fairness doctrine restored in America because we have all the opinion you can get from any number of sources. Now, in 1949, when they put the fairness doctrine into effect to begin with only 2,500 radio stations, virtually no TV, only magazines and newspapers, there might have been a reason to control a little bit of this because 2,500 radio stations with Rush Limbaugh could have swayed a big opinion.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But today that's unnecessary. It's a moot point. It really is.
It really is as sinister as it seems.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
They are trying to craft the nation's opinions about things. And
they don't want to do it through reinstating the Fairness Doctrine. That's too obvious. But they would do it through re-regulation, making it harder on broadcasters to renew their licenses, requiring them to go through a number of hoops to be able to retain that license, and that's what they're doing. The first thing that President Obama did when he became president was appoint a man by the name of Mark Lloyd as the diversity officer in the FCC. If you read what Mark Lloyd does, he hates conservative radio. He hates Rush Limbaugh. He hates anything on conservative talk radio in America.
So how effective has he been so
far?
So
far, not much. I mean, they have bigger fish to fry so far. Besides that, we have raised such a stink about this and such a tea party of our own on the airwaves that I think they're a little intimidated to move that direction. They're trying to do it subtly, but we keep coming back and reminding America that its airwaves are free for speech. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't liberal radio. There is. Try NPR.
Oh, I know.
I mean, NPR is the epitome of
Air America
liberal.
went bankrupt.
Air America went bankrupt.
Except in Portland.
Well, it went bankrupt here too.
Well, they still have that liberal station.
Well, they do have a liberal station, but it is not associated with Air America. Air America went defunct. They're completely bankrupt.
Yes.
Al Franken was not their answer. And suggest in America that we need regulation of speech on our airwaves to present a balanced point of view is so against what America is all about. America is about the free marketplace of ideas. And whatever the idea is put out over the airwaves or over a newspaper magazine, the public has the right to determine if it wants to hear, read, or see it. And based on that, that's what free speech is all about.
We the people.